Hi, I am making right now a vlog about social anxiety. Um, this has become unexpectedly a really big problem in my life the last couple of years. And I was just talking with a young man last night who was kind of in a position that I was in when I was younger, in my teens, in my later teens, where he didn't have crippling social anxiety or social awkwardness, but he was just kind of like depressed and, you know, sad and disinterested in his life and was kind of in that position where you start like dropping out and isolating yourself. And I told him like, no, stay in marching band, you know, because if you just stay there, you won't develop because I never expected that social anxiety could become something that, really could like fuck up my life in serious ways. Like it could fuck up my life in like not being able to get a job, and that's basically, yeah, that's the primary thing. It'll fuck up my life and that I won't be able to fucking get a job. I won't be able to do a job interview or like all of that stuff you have to do to like even like be able to feed yourself, make it on your own in the system. So it's, quite a challenging point that I'm pushing myself to face. So I had to this afternoon go help my neighbor plant a plant in her backyard. And it's kind of like, you know, introductions and goodbyes are like kind of, the most uncomfortable parts of conversations for me. And you have to like start or end. And I mean, also to segue again, there's also kind of like I notice a belief of myself being someone who has social anxiety, like that self identity. um, and the internet has provided me with a context where I can, indulge myself in that belief, that identity of, being a certain kind of person, being in a certain kind of group of people who develop these problems. So that's kind of messed up. It's like, feeling special because of this disorder that I've developed. So I had to go do this social thing, and the goodbye was quite difficult, and she was like standing like right there next to you, and her face is like right there. And actually, all the judgments that I have about my face, because I'm also, well, another thing that I do and have done for quite a long time in my life is you get like right up next to the mirror, and you like pick at your skin. So those points started coming up while I was standing there talking with her, in like comparing skin, and just it's uncomfortable that that's happening, and you're trying to have this conversation and look normal and be like, yes, college, jobs, electrical engineering, yes. And like, worrying about how I'm standing, and I mean all the stuff that I'm sure people who were in a situation like mine are very familiar with. Um, so what was the point of this vlog? I've forgotten. I had a point. Oh yeah, yeah. It was kind of saying, well, I don't know. I guess I'll see if it's really an actual point. But the point that I wanted to share in this is that, there was kind of like a somewhat awkward and separation where like, because she's, a chatty woman, and she's kind of like talking about her son and her life, and like, getting kind of very sad about her son's not calling her, and I'm like, and like, you're like, if you're constantly afraid that you're gonna like look awkward and that you're gonna creep somebody out, and that they're gonna like get mad at you, because people do that when you're like fucking awkward and it's creepy, even for adults. It creeps people the fuck out, and they get kind of like mad at you. And it's like you're afraid of that happening, and then it happens, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so I was trying to, like, be normal, and I didn't want to be like, okay, I've got to go. So I just kind of, and then so I just kind of like hung around and fucking try not to look weird, and and then she kind of got bored talking to me, like, okay, now she wants to go, and I was like still kind of uncomfortable to just be like, okay, fucking, I've got to go now. But you can't do that. You can't just be like to like a polite stranger. Like, you kind of have to, like, ease your way out of it. Like, oh yeah, okay, I gotta go. No, I don't want to get all cynical about it, like everything's all bullshit and this and that, but it is quite kind of like a funny and absurd um, dance of sorts you have to go through to kind of, like, get yourself out of there without creating any hard feelings. Or and it's interesting because, like, for a lot of people, they just never develop this relationship, this whole, like, fear and self-consciousness relationship with these kind of interactions, and can go through this kind of an experience just very naturally. And anyway, so yeah, so it was kind of awkward. The extraction was awkward, and I guess I wasn't as directive as I should have been, and um, actually did create, like I mentioned, that experience of, okay, oh fuck, now she is kind of feeling like, what is this guy doing? Why isn't he leaving? Um, and so I got into my house, and I shut the door on the outside world. And then I'm kind of like going into an experience of inferiority. Fucking, I'm such a faggot, I'm such a fucked up person. Why can't I do this shit? And I guess what the point that I realized is that you just have to, kind of like be assertive, and I have to be willing to go through experiences like this until I'm, like, comfortable with people and with all the stuff that, like, dealing with people that you don't really know but who are still people, like, they have, like, all people stuff, they have all the people stuff inside them. Like, for example, the point that came up with this woman was, like, her relationship with her son, and that was a point where I could have, like, had a meaningful kind of communication with her, and I kind of tried to, but it was, awkward, and didn't want to, like, but just, yeah, but being assertive in myself with not necessarily, like, being assertive or domineering towards other people, because that's, like, the other side of this. The other side of anxiety, social anxiety, is being, like, totally, like, you're going to do and be what I want right now. So I guess that's not what I meant by assertiveness, but more just that assertiveness in being willing to do these kinds of things. And yeah, like I mentioned to that young man I was talking to the other day, um, being willing to stay with it and just keep, which is not necessarily, like, because when I first, like, started approaching social anxiety, I kind of bit off more than I could chew in like pushing myself into quite, you know like, public speaking type situations, because I didn't want to be socially anxious. And that, I mean, I guess that's possible, but I'm not doing that again. I'm gonna start, in a more concerted way, of just kind of putting myself into situations where I have to socialize. Okay, so that's I guess all I had to say for this video. Bye.